Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Folks, I gotta tell you about mailbox movies. Remember the good old days? Back when Netflix would actually deliver physical media to your mailbox? Do you remember those days? I do. I love them. How often do you find yourself reminiscing about those trips to your local video store, sifting through every single collection, discovering a movie treasure that you've never seen before? If niche is your knack, then Mailbox Movies is the DVD delivery service for you. With simple online ordering and speedy DVD delivery right to your front door, Mailbox Movies has unbeatable prices that will give you more screams for your buck. Now remember, okay? Just remember, because you're gonna need this. Use the code JerryHorror for 50% off your first month. Take a shot. 50% off, how can you not? Don't settle for less. Get the best in horror delivered to your door. Again, that promo code for 50% off is JerryHorror. Head on over to mailboxmovies.com and start your own terrifying movie marathon today. Welcome to The Offering with Jerry Horror, the show where we can have a quiet and frank discussion as adults about the things that matter to me, or at least that I think matter to me. Please take a moment to subscribe to our show wherever you get fine podcasts, and hey, stay up to date on future episodes. Coming up, we've got director Sean Q. King of the fantastic new film Screamwalkers. You're not going to want to miss this. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, it's me, your host, Jerry Horror, and this is The Offering. Are you excited? You should be. We got a real big show. Got director Sean Q. King. He's coming on. Hey, listen, can I tell you, last night I watched James Mangold's The Wolverine, and it was a solid little movie. I really enjoyed it. I kind of, when it came out, I was like, I'm not really into this. But now it's like, it's got mostly a Japanese cast. We're doing things. We're taking chances. It's actually a lot more brutal than I remember it being. I was like, wow, they really just ran Wolverine through with a sword. It's brought me to this place of nostalgia and warmth for Hugh Jackman. I'm like, this guy is the unsung hero. He's been in like so many of these X-Men movies, even if he just showed up for a cameo, you know, as Weapon X or whatever. And I'm saying to myself, this guy, we've had like in the time, he's been playing this one role for 25 fucking years. And it's like we've had like 12 Batman, 86 Superman. We've had all these different guys and they've changed actors. He has been the one constant in our lives for almost 25 years now. And it's incredible. Logan was a perfect send-off. Logan is a fantastic film. If you haven't seen The Wolverine's good. Logan is great. Mangold really knows how to get into the heart of that character. And, you know, Logan will make you cry. And I'm going to tell you, this is Hugh Jackman's signature role. When eventually they do give him the big send-off, the in memoriam, you're going to see some shots of Wolverine. And it's going to, that one's going to hurt. Regardless, folks, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, speculation, are they going to have a new Wolverine? I don't know. Are they going to keep Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and just keep moving forward? I'm not sure. It's too hard to tell right now, but I'm going to tell you something. Whoever eventually does suit up because of, you know, look, time will get us all, and somebody will have to put on the claws and make it happen and be the adamantium man. It's an unenviable task. It's one of those things where you're constantly reinventing with a lot of these other, you know, like James Bond. There's always a reinvention of James Bond. But after 25 years, whoever has to put on that costume, I do not envy that at all. So, you know, go back, get into that fun nostalgia because Hugh Jackman's been bringing it. Let me give you some sage-like advice, okay? No one's ever going to tell you they're going to give you a bad blowjob. They always tell you they're the throat goat. They always tell you this is going to be the best ever. What you think you've had this before? Wait until you get this. This is going to be amazing. People over-deliver. or not even over-deliver. They over-promise and under-deliver. And that's kind of the law of diminishing returns with all of these big franchises. So whatever it is, with this movie, The Deadpool and Wolverine, go enjoy it. Don't worry about the 40 cameos. Don't worry about what it's setting up. Savor the performance that Jackman gives because, hey, who knows? Is he going to do another one? I don't know. I'm not Kevin Feige. I mean, just in case everybody's checking. Oh, I'm just standing on facts here. I'm just standing on facts. And facts says that Hugh Jackman was a fantastic Wolverine. And I'm going to put it out there. I took it for granted. I took it for granted. He's been more constant than any relationship I've had with a woman in the last 25 years. That's a really depressing thought. I got to transition hard out of this one. I don't even want to think about my romantic life. It's almost non-existent. So the other night, I'm watching The Legend of Hercules in 3D. Brett Ratner directed it. If you forgot that they made this, they made another Hercules movie. And I'm going to tell you the problem with the movie. Because you don't need, listen, people will tell you, I'm going to tell you the problem. And you want to know what the problem is? This is the problem. First off, we start this movie and it's like, Hercules had to go through all these trials. He hunted the werebeast and he did this and did that. But that's all bullshit. But I'm like, this is the better movie. You're telling me, you're showing me a better movie of him, the opening scene. There's like this dragon with all these different heads and he's cutting off the heads. And I'm like, this is kind of fucking awesome. I'm like, did I just rediscover a new classic? Bro, call Donnie. Donnie, have you seen Hercules, The Legend of Hercules in 3D, bro? Then we get into the movie and it's some kid tied up and he's like, yes, but that is just the legend. And now it's like the actual reality is this guy is kind of just a normal guy. Is he the son of Zeus or is he just really the leader of this band of pirates and thieves? And there was a very much like, The Rock was like, I could do Johnny Depp. I could be Jack Sparrow. And they were trying to Jack Sparrow Hercules. And I was like, oh, this is just, a lot of this isn't working. But I'm going to tell you, because you need to know this. The reason The Legend of Hercules with Dwayne Johnson's doesn't work is because he's got a bad wig. Okay? And there's a lot of bad wigs. But this movie, I'm looking at this movie. We got Brett Ratner. Why'd you cancel Brett Ratner? Why is he so problematic? Brett, get at me. I got scripts. I got stuff. I got things I can sell you. We'll make it happen, baby. Rush Hour 4, me and you. It's a bad wig. It's just a bad fucking wig. And you spent $150 million on this movie. We got to put Dwayne on the poster. And he's got a terrible wig. And I'm just like, you know what? I believe the Hydra. I believe the sword play. I believe all this stuff. And it works. Some of it works very well. But I'm like, the second I see him in that dopey Jesus wig, sorry. Look. But despite that, we always try to keep it positive. What's the spin? The takeaway is that people always talk about, we got big things popping. We got some big things coming up, big things. And people talk about big things. Dwayne Johnson has got big things. He just made a deal with Disney. And this deal is insane. He's going to have gyms. He's going to have iron paradises on every Disney cruise ship. Not one, not two, all of them. And they're going to be gyms that he's overseen and personally approved. Hey, this is what needs to be in there. You need free weights, you need that. But it doesn't stop there because he signed this. They basically became co-branded. And we always talk about the most important thing, especially even with what we're talking about today. It's about equity. It's about having a piece of the pie and having something tangible that's yours, even if it's a part of a larger corporation. He's going to have his tequila, the Tremana. He's going to have that in the theme parks. They're going to be serving his tequila. He's become a brand partner. So you can say whatever you want to say, bad wigs aside and some crappy movie choices. This guy is now holding hands with the mouse and saying, look, I've got this brand equity. And that's what I stress to all the listeners. Do what you got to do, help people out, but what's in it for you? Because Dwayne will tell you what's in it for me. Because everybody wanted Dwayne to be the next big action star. Because of his connections in wrestling and entertainment, he was able to sit under the learning tree from people like Schwarzenegger. And Schwarzenegger probably would tell him, because I have a keen sense of his sensibilities, he would be like, listen, you don't do Commando. He's like, here's what you do. You do a fucking Disney movie. You do this. And it's like, maybe that's not what people like myself who grew up with him in pro wrestling wanted him to do, but ultimately that's how he got the biggest bag. So you can hate all day on Dwayne and that dumb wig. In the end, Dwayne's laughing all the way to the bank. And you know what? I can't be mad at that. Speaking of which, there are no bad wigs in this movie I'm talking about today. There's a fantastic dummy, one of the best dummies I've seen. You know, look, I don't want to speculate, but allegedly, that dummy is talking to people at A24. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. You heard it here first. Horror is like pornography. Everybody's got a kink. Whether you're into slasher films, whether you're into creature features, whether you're into kaiju, there's something that turns you on that you love. So let me tell you about shot on video films. You know what? I'm not even going to tell you. After the break, we're going to go to my good friend, director Sean Q. King. He's going to tell you all about shot on video because he just made a dang movie on one. What do you know about that? Dwayne don't know about that. You can't get Red Notice on VHS. Come on. Strap in, buckle up, and stay tuned because we're talking Screamwalkers. All right, folks, I've seen Screamwalkers, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But we need to talk about something that just recently happened. 20th Century Fox, which is owned by the House of Mouse, Disney, recently started promoting to the press, which I'm excluded from because I'm not an insider. I'm not a Hollywood insider, so I don't get sent shit, okay? Not that I'm salty about it, a little salty. So they're promoting Alien Romulus, which is coming out in August. It's probably already came out by the time you heard this, and it either was a success, it flopped, or nobody gives a shit. I'm happy to see that they got Fede Alvarez and decided to go in a direction that seems to be more horrific. But what they did to promote this to the genre press, if we're going to call it that, they decided we're going to send out a scene and a little behind the scenes stuff from the film. And the way that they chose to do it was a VHS. They got Creepy Duck Design. Shout out to him. He always does a good job. Glad to always see him getting work. It's a VHS cassette. It's like an old school VHS cardboard box sleeve. The art is cool as hell. And I guarantee you, on the secondary market, this thing is going to go for prices that will blow your mind in about 2 years. Now, the problem was, most of these people, most of the press, who has a VCR? It's become kind of this niche thing. And what happened was, they send it out, and it's a big scene from the film, and they're like, oh shit, nobody has a VCR. So I watched, I'm still calling it Twitter, fuck Elon Musk. As he demonetizes my life. And I said to myself, I'm like, this is so funny to see all of these people within the press scrambling like, hey, Bob, do you got a VCR? Can I come over? Can I watch this thing? And to me, it's absolutely fascinating. But it gave me pause to think in my mind. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, this is it. VHS will never die. Maybe we won't let it. There is this warm place in our hearts. It's a comfort food. And I can't explain it. Nothing looks like it. And for a lot of us, we shot films on VHS. It was such a huge part of our lives. So if you were making monster movies in the backyard, if you went to Disney World and your dad had the camera, it was an omnipresent part of our lives. And just really quickly, I wanted to talk about like old school video stores. There's something very nostalgic about seeing sun-drenched tapes that are faded from the sun. I don't know what it is, because those were the ones, like they'd put a copy of Fright Night in the window, and there's something very nostalgic about that. But you used to go to the mom and pops, and the mom and pops were like dark and dingy because it was all like fat guys with mullets who drove Corvettes and sleeping with women that were way better looking than them. And it was one of these things, like you could make $150,000 a year, and then Blockbuster pops up and they got windows. Now, that was a big thing. Oh man, I got lost in the sauce there. Point being, they're promoting this movie via VHS, and they're definitely sending a message. They're sending a message to a specific generation, because I can imagine some of the younger members of the press, like I know some people that are in their early 20s, and they were probably like, what the fuck? what's this? What is this ancient technology? What is this voodoo? But it brings me to my next point. The film that we're talking about in question today is Screamwalkers. I'm here with my guest, Sean Q. King, who directed the film. This was shot on VHS, and people have to say to themselves, who the hell would do that, and why would you do that in the year of our Lord 2024, as we live in a world where almost everything is shot digitally, whether it's Ridley Scott doing it or whether it's the kid making reels for Instagram. Everybody is shooting on digital.
Everyone's a suspect.
Even you?
Yes.
You don't have anything to go off of. You have nothing.
I got something. It's not a lot, but it's a start.
If that detective isn't going to solve who's killing us, we're going to have to do it ourselves.
I want a confession!
Sean, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Jerry and producer Pete, for having me back.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Now, I have to ask you, because this is the director's series, this is the big question.
Who's the director?
You're the director.
Oh, shit, okay.
You're the guy.
All right. Ready.
Allegedly. So, what's the film that lit your fuse? Now, let me just preface this. There are two films for every director. Sometimes they are the same film, but there's two films.
Yeah.
There's the one film that blows your mind, and then the second film is the one that says, hey, wait, I can do this. Now, sometimes it's the same movie, but for you, what was the movie that blew your mind?
Those are two movies from the same franchise. The first movie that was a complete brain smasher, eye-opener revelation was The Evil Dead. And if you talk to a generation of 80s kids who are now creators of any kind, they'll probably say that. Just like the Gen Xers who are the younger boomers will say Star Wars was the thing. You know, just the use of special effects and revolutionary things that you've never seen before just really got your gears moving in your brain. Like, how did they do this stuff? You've never seen anything like that before. So in the 80s, and you mentioned, going to the video store. I mean, the video store was the drive-ins part 2. When the drive-ins were still around, but why would you go to a drive-in when you can go get the video cassette if you were lucky enough to have a VCR? So the video stores used the same tactics as the drive-in theaters did in the 60s and 70s, which was sensationalism. Those trailers were so garish with the ballyhoo and the blood seeping off the big screen and all that stuff. And then you went to the video store 10 years later and you saw the VHS boxes with the blood dripping off the VHS box and the cover and the garish fonts, Blood Feast, and, Color Me Blood Red, like the H.G. Lewis boxes were just like, you see that as a kid going into the video store, you're just like, what the fuck? You never seen anything like that before. And then it was aliens on the cover, or a naked girl being, her clothes being torn off by a werewolf, and you're just like, this is amazing. You're 8 or 10 years old and you've never seen anything like this.
It's incredibly salacious. Some would even say sleazy, but we got money to make.
Our parents were like, oh, that's trash, that's sleaze, but we were just like, what? I've never seen anything like this. And you're just awakening to that sexual person you're going to become, or that. You're beginning to find out your favorite things when you're 11, 12 years old, the things that you're going to love for the rest of your life.
Especially in the 80s, there's kind of this crossover, too, with a lot of metal and a lot of records. And you're looking at the records, whether it was the LP or the cassette, and it's like, oh, wow, Cannibal Corpse, oh, wow, Iron Maiden, that's fucking crazy, And then it's kind of the same, it's all in the same loop, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at the album art back then. And then you had the PMRC thing happen. And then you see Dee Snider in court, and Frank Zappa in court defending their free speech, And then you look at them and they're like, they're so fucking cool. And then you look at the other side and you see like Tipper Gore and you're like, what the fuck? Like, they're fucking terrible. What the fuck are those things, And then you're like, the line is clearly drawn. You're just like, oh, come on. Like, these people are the coolest things. And they're defending their right to create whatever the fuck they want to create. But that was just like the entrepreneurial filmmakers from the drive-in era that became the filmmakers who became entrepreneurial business people and creators making, like you said earlier, backyard movies, home movies, by whatever means they had at the time, which were lo-fi video or cheap video or 16 millimeter cameras they could rent from the college, you know? And that just forms an entirely new subgenre of regional movies or DIY movies and lo-fi movies. That's like, there's many names for them, but they're all born out of, well, we can't make Jaws, but we can make Barracuda, you know? And it's going to cost like, you know, $200,000. And it can go on tape and the stores will buy it. Well, you know, there's a distributor for the mom and pop shops and we can get our movie there. And then going there as a kid, seeing these things, and then my parents split up. So we would go, my brother and I would go to my dad's and we would be able to rent a movie or two on Friday. So we went to the video store and my dad would let us rent Faces of Death or, Monster Dog. You know, all these things. And then Evil Dead 2 was coming out. This was 1987, I guess. And Evil Dead 2, I lived in 52nd and 1st Avenue in Manhattan, and the posters were all over the place in the theaters for this movie called Evil Dead 2. And the poster was so cool. It was just this kind of semi-profile of a skull with regular eyes. And I was just like, again, it's just that kind of like marketing approach of this outrageous image that just grabs you and pulls you in. They wouldn't let me in the movie because it was it was unrated. Mm-hmm. Evil Dead 2 was unrated, and I tried to get in many times, but even in Manhattan at that time, even in like 42nd Street, they didn't let me in because I was clearly 12. But we would be able to go into like porno shops, and they didn't give a shit. It was so weird.
Bars.
Yeah, like bars. Yeah, we would go into porno places and peep shows, but they wouldn't let us in to see Dead Heat. You know,
that's
like
right.
What the fuck is going on here? So I was with my dad one weekend and I saw Evil Dead on video cassette at the video store, and I was like, oh my God, that's the other one of that movie, you know? My grandfather was there, my dad's dad, and I don't know why my dad let us rent these things, and it's like, all right, it's family movie night. Let's sit down and watch Evil Dead and Faces of Death. But we watched it, and I had never seen anything like it. It was so outrageous, so freaking ferocious and crazy and gnarly. And then it got to the scene that the director regrets to this day, which was the vine attack scene. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to explain it, but my dad turned off the movie. He pressed stop on the VCR, and that never happened.
A lot of people did. That was too much.
I was inside. I was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck you doing?" You know? It was like, "Whoa, that's too much for my dad." I mean, he was embarrassed watching it because his dad was there in the room too. But and then I was just like, "Wow, Dad finally shut off a movie, man. That one was too rough." And then that was the fascinating part. And then it was not long after that where I rented it again and I watched the whole thing through. And the movie is filled with these wonderful kind of gaffes or flaws. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to call them flaws because they're just brilliant things. But I mean, just because of the ambition of the movie, they were pushing way past what they were supposed to be, in theory, capable of. And that's what makes a classic movie now, I think, especially from that time with special effects and things like those movies.
Rough around the edges.
Yeah, but even the movies that were like trying to push beyond their capabilities and their limitations, like The Thing or something. Mm-hmm. Like I know that, like, find out what movie put people in hospitals and like go watch those movies, because you'll see like, holy shit! Now I know why this person needed therapy for 8 years or, and it's like, I see it. That's awesome. And so yeah, I'll make it quick, but it was Evil Dead, and there was like you could see the tubes under the makeup spurting blood, and then Evil Dead 2 was just, that was like the deciding thing when I finally saw that, and I watched it like 4 or 5 times back to back the first time, and I'd never seen anything like it. My soul was put in a blender, and kind of when it slowly came back together, it was like, all right, you're a filmmaker now. You got to do shit like that. Yeah, so it's those 2 movies. I have a lot of other examples, but we'll just stick with that. But it's low budget horror. It's low budget monster movies. I would love to see like, 50s and 60s creature feature movies. I remember watching Octoman late night on TV on some New York channel.
Yeah, it's a banger.
And just seeing Octoman, kind of like flailing the arms and attacking somebody next to like an old Airstream camper is like, it's just pure magic. And then you're just like, who the fuck thought this was a great idea? I mean, I love this, but like how did this pass like any kind of like quality control standards? Like, God bless it. Thankfully it did. So yeah, so that just kind of, I mean, again, these things, they created a generation of movie makers who were, didn't have the means to do stuff, but they gathered what they could and made something.
VHS becomes the great equalizer, essentially, especially in the 80s. Yeah. And it becomes one of these things where you can be Don Dohler and you can be making these regional rubbery monster movies, or you could be Traumat in New York, and all of a sudden you're next to Lethal Weapon 2.
Right. Yeah.
So people, the informed or uninformed consumer says, well, if Laser Blast or whatever is next to Alien, which is a studio film, of course there's varying degrees of quality and whatnot. But it says we're playing fair now. If you like the salacious big titty girl in the box, or you like Mel Gibson, you're going to make that decision. And I think it's also the bad thing about 4K. When we start doing Evil Dead in 4K, you can really see those things. And when
I will say, watching Evil Dead on HD, and you see those like tubes under the makeup, you start to see the edge of the set,
the seams,
and that was like. A lot of other people were like inspired by Star Wars just because the effects were so cool and so amazing and so perfect, and there was no flaws, and it's like, whoa, how do they do that? The way my brain worked was, if I saw a boom mic dip into the screen, or
I got excited for stuff like that.
Yeah, or dolly tracks that you weren't supposed to see, like in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. If you watched that at the wrong aspect ratio, he's pulling the chain out of the bike saddle, and you see it feeding down through the bottom of it. It's like, whoa, what the hell? Like, they didn't see that? How did they leave that in the movie? It
was like a pipe of smoke in Rambo: First Blood Part 2, and I saw the pipe sticking out of the helicopter, I was like, oh my God.
It's all of those wonderful little mechanical things that you're not supposed to see that got me thinking, like, just looking at the boom mic dipping in and then being like, whoa, and then you're in your mind, you're following the pole to, off camera, and you're like, somebody's holding that thing, like that's a job, and then you start to see like the tube under the makeup spurting the blood or something, or the seams of the makeup coming off, and you're like, somebody's like pumping the blood off camera doing that, like, whoa. And then in the 80s, it was, you could buy books from Dick Smith and Tom Savini and shit, and then he would break down like the magic tricks of how to do gore and makeup and stuff. Dick Smith too, he would do these like amazing like homemade makeup tutorials and shit, how to like make fake monster teeth out of taffy and peanuts and stuff. It was just, and you're just like, holy shit, like I can go do that now.
It was a grand illusion. That book, I remember reading. Amazing. You have to be a fan of the Friday the 13th films, and I was like, all right, well, this is how the sausage is made. For me, I will say that the first film that I saw that really blew me away was at the drive, and it was Superman 2. And I was like, this is the majesty of filmmaking. Like, this is cinema.
That's awesome.
And then seeing Evil Dead on home video, I said, and I don't make movies, but I was like, I think I can do this. I'm like, this is and that's what's important about those films, because you can watch a Steven Spielberg movie, you can watch a Francis Ford Coppola movie, and you're like, wow, this is filmmaking on another level. And then you watch some of this stuff that we were exposed to on VHS, and you're saying, hey, you know what? I might not be able to make Close Encounters, but maybe I could make Evil Dead.
Right.
So my next question for you is, you have this film, Screamwalkers. I saw it. I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
It wasn't what I thought it would be. At first, I thought it was going to be, again, we're going to use the word salacious. I thought it was going to be a little more. It really works as a conventional horror thriller. It's a potboiler, and there's a lot of suspense, and I was very shocked at that.
Cool.
And also, can I say, it's got the dummy of the year.
I
haven't seen a dummy that good in a while.
A lot of people say it's the best performance in the movie.
I mean, it's a great. We were going to have
among many awesome performances. But
we tried to book the dummy, but the dummy is apparently very busy right now.
The dummy is deflated and packed up away until they need to be on screen again.
He's talking to QT. He's like, hey,
Yeah, he's negotiating.
I heard you're making
other
a
roles.
movie.
It's- we'll get to the dummy later.
I could be Brad Pitt.
The doll. But that's awesome that you thought it was going to be some kind of like
I expected a
else.
Splatterfest.
Yeah. Honestly, Screamwalkers is different than what I thought it was going to be too. The script didn't change or anything, but the elevation of it changed, I guess. It started out as, we'll raise about $10,000 or $13,000 and we'll just make a movie with the video camera because we don't have a crew, and we'll just turn the camera on and the camera does all the work, the camcorder from the 90s or whatever. And that was all set. But then I started casting on Facebook, just putting out like little on actors groups, little casting call. And then there was not too many submissions, but the few that we got were like, holy these are fucking real actors, man. Like, and they're local, and their tapes or whatever, their work examples were like, these people would do this movie. Like, I got to email them and say, look, it's a shit rate, $100 a day. The food's going to be, and I'll do my best, but the movie's going to be a blast. It's going to be an experimental thing. So low key, low pressure thing, low stakes. We're going to collaborate. We're going to find what you like and what I like, and we're going to come up with something that you can call your own too. And that's, I guess, for an actor, that's really cool to be like, oh, cool. I don't have to just read the lines.
It's empowerment.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody was, there wasn't one person who wasn't like ultra creative there. Everybody was like hyper creative. A lot of people were the producers on their own right, and stand-up comics and all these amazing performers. Getting those actors and seeing what they could do changed the movie, because it was like, hold on a sec, we don't just have like a backyard movie anymore. We can make this as a serious, like, there could be drama in this movie. There could be comedy, because some of those actors just understood comedy so well. And then it was like, all right, this isn't a piece of trash. Like, not that we set out to make a piece of trash, but we were homaging trash maybe, but we're like, no, hold on a second. This is legit. This is good. And not that we had a lot of splatter planned or anything like that. It was more like the idea behind Screamwalkers was, I'll go into the origins in a little bit, but let's pay tribute to those kind of new horror films post Scream, when horror movies kind of died in the early 90s after, way too many sequels, and, Freddy died this many times.
It
and came
imploded.
back and
It essentially
yeah,
imploded.
like fucking Michael Myers is, well, what? Jason's back? Wait, Jason died in the last one. So it was just, each sequel was just more ridiculous. They started going to space, these monsters, Leprechaun in space, and it was just like, it was a fucking joke. And then Scream came out and made fun of it all, but made in my opinion, like a brilliant pop movie too. Mm-hmm. And it was a big deal. You had big stars in them, and you killed them quickly, and they were just like, wait, Drew Barrymore's dead in like 5 minutes? What the fuck else is this movie going to do? And then that started what a lot of people don't like, but that trend of PG-13, pop horror.
CW stars.
Yeah, they would take TV actors, hot TV actors, and, most of them were going to be safe because they were on a TV show. But those movies, like Scream, got kind of gnarly, gory a little bit. But those other ones, like the trend it started, kind of the more it went on with like Urban Legend or Cry Wolf and these movies.
I'll tell you what broke it. And it's I think it's Tom Welling was in the Fog remake, which is just a CGI mess.
Yeah,
the guy who was on Smallville.
Yeah.
And if there was one movie that broke this trend, it was like, you shouldn't remake Carpenter.
Right.
You can do it if you got the balls. It's like we were just talking about the Toxic Avenger movie, the remake with Macon Blair directed.
Yeah, I'm still puzzled by that. I have
Everybody's
no idea
puzzled.
why. Like, did they focus group that and say, "Oh, people will pay for this"? I don't know why. Like, it's cool that they could make something like that now, but who greenlit that and why? Like. I mean, did they follow trends on TikTok? Was there like
for creatives, it's an unenviable task. That's number one. But let me switch gears really quick. Let me switch gears. You were on the boarding house episode. Sick plug.
True.
Very sick plug.
Yeah, go listen to that.
And you brought Boarding House, which is a shot-on-video horror film, which I love. It's one of my favorites now.
Love it.
You brought that. You were partly responsible bringing that to the masses.
Yep.
So
for the second or third time, yeah.
Yeah. Sure. No, but it was done. It was done the right way.
But Boarding House should never die.
No, it should. The Boarding House will never die. It's one of those things where there's these forgotten gems, and they're out there, waiting to be unearthed. Mm-hmm. But was there anything from Boarding House that you learned that you said to yourself, "Hey, maybe what's the magic in this? What can I bring to the table myself?"
Yeah, Boarding House, and I got to correct you a little bit. I'm sorry, Jerry. I think the go-to explanation for like lo-fi analog movies that it's shot on VHS, and that's like a broad net. You could say that. Most of the time, it wouldn't be accurate because a lot of the quote-unquote shot on video analog movies from the early '80s to the early 2000s, post-digital age. Yeah, a lot of them were shot on VHS, but a lot of them were shot on broadcast video, 3/4 inch tape, beta, blah blah blah. Yeah, so that's what Boarding House was shot on, probably like a professional 3/4 inch tape, news broadcast camera, whatever. They were cheaper to rent than a 35 millimeter camera, and you didn't, the tapes were probably $20 each.
Film is a luxury. I still, people have argued with me about it, but I feel that film is a luxury.
Well, here's the thing about that. A lot of people don't like. A lot of people listening to filmmakers talk and this and that, like, they don't understand is there's so many fucking levels of independent movie making. You think, oh yeah, okay, independent movies. That's like Miramax or fucking A24 or whatever. It's like, sure, that is the top of the mountain of independent movies,
the food chain, so to speak.
Yeah, but you dig under the mountain a little bit, and you'll find out there's movies that are made for $300, $400, $500 or $10,000, and those movies, they scrounge up what the hell they can.
But they are direct byproducts of passion. That's the most important part.
Yeah, in a lot of cases. In some cases, it's just an entrepreneurial person who's like, oh, we can make a movie with tits and monsters and gore and put it out there, just like the drive-in people did. I mean, you could tell the ones that are made out of passion, and you could tell the ones that are made out of for commerce, by capitalistic,
Final Exam is a perfect example of that, because it was not made by filmmakers. It was really made by a bunch of investors, and it is the most by the numbers slasher film. But there was that time after Halloween where everybody said, hey, I can take a girl and put her, scantily clad and have some boogeyman. Yeah. And that became the flavor of the day.
Yeah. And Boarding House from 1982 was that. Boarding House is a great example of that, made by a husband and wife team called John and Calla-Sue Wintergate. They did just that. They got whatever equipment they can get. They wanted to shoot it on film. They quickly realized they didn't have the money to shoot it on film.
Oh, yeah.
So they shot it on 3/4 inch tape, and they just got local LA models and actors to be in the movie. And they didn't have a lot of money, but they had connections in the music industry and, broadcast television. So they were able to do the post-production there. But what made that movie different was that even though they shot it on kind of professional-ish videotape, they kept the money in the budget to make a film print of that on 35 millimeter and, transferred that to film so they could release it in movie theaters. And when you watch Boarding House, there's a couple of versions out there, like the version that we put out on Blu-ray in 2021. There's both versions. There's like the straight videotape version that went like on home video. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to find the film print, the 35 millimeter print of the video transfer. And that one is just fucking weird, man. Because they were doing experimental things too with video switching. And a big thing now is like analog is a big thing now because of like Instagram and TikTok. And there's like a generation now of like glitch artists and things like that, right? Yeah. And it's awesome, but they're making their own glitch boxes and things like that, and their own feedback machines and things like that. But back in the day when like somebody like the Wintergates did Boarding House, they just had like some kind of like reverb effect or whatever basic effects were on the control switch.
It's very gnarly.
Yeah, so it was, but it's so damn charming. Like they're trying to just make something funny and weird, and it's so bizarre, and we love it. So my partner Frank Sabatel, another director, got together and put it out on on disc through AGFA Bleeding Skull, AGFA Bleeding Skull is like a pioneer of like, that kind of like analog. Yeah, just the weirdest stuff.
They're definitely tastemakers. Everything they always show us, whether it's something they're soliciting or just something that they're sharing, it's always like, I'd watch that.
Yeah, well, they dig up movies that maybe came out on tape, like Black Devil Doll from Hell. They didn't release that, but Black Devil Doll from Hell was Chester Turner, this director. I think it was from '85. I'm probably wrong. It is
what it is.
My cred is
it's
like
okay.
diminishing.
It's fine.
But this dude made a movie, Black Devil Doll from Hell. It's exactly what it sounds like. And he shot it on video. They shot on VHS probably. The guy he was from Chicago, so he went to every mom and pop video store, made the VHS tapes, hand cut them, probably printed them up at the print shop and made the boxes for him. And
it's the DIY aesthetic. And it carries over even to hip hop, where you have guys like, whether it's Ludacris or whether it's Wu-Tang Clan.
Making their mixtape.
Yep, when we're putting it in mom and pop stores.
Yeah.
And you know what? It levels the playing field. It allows, creators.
Well, I think those artists and people like Chester Turner, the Winter Gates, and Mark Polonia, and Todd Sheets, and Jason Cook. These people, they make the things. They make the album. They make the mixtape, or they make the movie, the video movie, their backyard movie. And then you see it, and you're just like, wow, there's real creativity here. They're trying to push beyond what they're capable of. And then you'll go to the movies and see whatever movie was out that year that you can't even remember what the fuck, City Slickers 2, whatever, we remember that, but for every City Slickers 2, there's like 100 movies that were out that year that nobody gives, we forgot that would have like big stars in them.
Yep.
Who the fuck is watching that stuff anymore? It's like, you can't even find that stuff on streaming. It's so buried. But, Black Devil Doll from Hell or a movie like Boarding House will get like this insane boutique treatment from like a crazy cool video label, and it'll have a slip case that's embossed, and the love for these things is like undying. They get cooler each year as technology advances. We just want to look in the past and like glitch out video and make it worse looking, but make it cool and experiment with it. So that's why these things just get more popular. And Screamwalkers is totally going back to that magic. Hopefully we kind of like captured that magic of turn the camera on, shoot it. We don't have guts. What are we going to use? Let's go, go get some meat from the store, go get some chicken, and we'll throw some freaking red dye on it. Let's do that. Fuck it,
I think when creators are moving the best is a lot of times they say to themselves, well, we have these budgetary constraints, we have these limitations, but I think the best creatives are like, well, fuck it, we're just going to do it. We want a dinosaur in this movie, we're going to get a dinosaur in this movie.
You're gonna go to the store and get a toy dinosaur, you're going to paint it, and then you're going to like put it close to the camera and force perspect it, and have a naked girl like with like 200 feet back going, looking up at nothing,
And it makes you better at your craft.
You remember that more than, fucking The Slugger's Wife or something, some movie like that. Like we're not sitting here talking about The Slugger's Wife.
Well, I mean,
we're not sitting here talking about. I can't even remember these shitty movies that nobody. I don't mean to call a movie shitty. Sorry, but it's like, we're talking about like Dinosaur Island or
art is subjective. It's like Danny DeVito as the Penguin in Batman Returns. He says, what you throw in the trash, I put on my mantle, and that's really what a lot of these boutique labels have become. Where it's my most treasured thing, like my little Kino movies. I get my little crappy Olivier Grunier,
Olivier
Grunier.
Okay.
I get my Nemesis on Blu-ray,
Nemesis 3.
4K, and I'm like, oh my god,
I know, right? Yeah,
this is my most treasured. I don't care if the house burns down. I'm gonna grab this.
And where's The Slugger's Wife on 4K? It's not out.
Or The Legend of Curly's Gold. I found that motherfucker, huh?
I can't even think of other titles that are just like were like maybe number one that week that nobody talks about.
Everything old is new again, though.
Yeah, I mean that's always the case, and it's funny because you go into talk about media and stuff just for a second because I want to get back to the origins of Screamwalkers. Like you said about the VHS tape, the Alien Romulus EPK tape. Mm-hmm. Like what the fuck? That's crazy. And then just recently, at the time of this talk, a company released Terrifier 2
Yes.
on VHS tape, and you go to Walmart and buy a new VHS tape.
How's that for distribution?
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
like what? I mean, you can't find it around where I live, but or you can buy it on a secondary market, like you said. Romulus is going to happen. I mean, you can go on eBay and find Terrifier 2 on tape sealed for $85 when it's $30 in the store or something. But it's just the love and care it took to make that tape, and the appreciation people have. Like, it's almost like you see that in a store and you're like, thank you, thank you so much. But it also has to do with a lot of emerging, young people doing glitch art and shit and finding old tapes in thrift stores and weird memories and memory holes. And
There's a fascination.
Yeah.
It's just like we grew up in the 80s, and then my fascination became the 70s. It became the 70s were the coolest thing to me. It's like a lawless time.
Right. And I think the more that we have streaming movies and shows and everything looks just kind of like done by committee, the same DPs shooting the same things with the same color grades and the same looks on everything and the same muted sounds and all this other stuff. I think people just maybe they don't realize it yet, maybe they do, but they're just like, this fucking sucks. This is boring.
Well,
everything looks the same. Everything sounds the same.
Everything does look the same. And the thing is what is the most popular thing? Like my sister, she has the company Knows Best Candles. Sick plug. Go buy some candles from Bushwick.
Those are amazing candles.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that people, when it comes to beer, when it comes to crafts, we want handmade, artisanal couture things because they're special. They're one of one. And I think it's the same thing with movies now.
It is. And movies and TV, I mean, we had an amazing run of television for the past 20-something years. But now I feel like people are just like, they're not really doing anything new.
The money's not there. Because a broadcast is dying out, the money is not once what it was.
I think the passion isn't there. What I see, like, okay, what's that fucking movie with The Rock and I got to narrow it down a lot more than that, but like Ryan Reynolds and The Rock are in some Netflix movie or some
Red
shit.
Notice.
Yeah, or something like, and then you're just like,
no one's ever seen it, but it's the highest watched film ever.
Because they feel obligated, and it's like, oh, it's Netflix, it's easy to click on, this and that. But that it's just a corporate fucking movie.
Well, it's like
a corporate product.
Justine Bateman was saying about the second screen thing. Hey, don't make a movie that's too, because we want people to be able to look at, Twitter on their phones. We don't want
the second, of course, yeah. Yeah, you can't make anything challenging. You got to make something that's like background noise for when you're cleaning your house.
It's the most watched movie ever on Netflix, right? But nobody's ever it's like vaporware. It's like, does it even exist?
Is that real numbers then? What is that? Is that a cooked up thing?
And it's COVID era filming, which means like it's very sparse. It's all shot on sound stages.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they built that gigantic LED stage, the 360 studio.
Right, yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
And
I know.
It's very accessible. We could go and rent it if we really wanted to.
Fuck that.
But the reality of it is if you start doing everything like that, you lose the integrity. And that's why I like Screamwalkers, because when you're seeing the killer walk around, it's a real house. And these are real people, like, with the news reporters, like these are real people. Mm-hmm. And I think we've lost some of that. There's no genuine part of these Netflix productions. They feel like they were all made in some warehouse in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's all on a LED virtual stage or CGI backgrounds, and the actors are just like so fucking over it there, and you could just, there's no passion, there's no love for anything.
It's sanitized. It's very sanitized.
It's a corporate product film, and that's it. And if you like that, that's awesome. I wish I did. I'd be a pig in shit.
I don't feel danger. Okay, and that
no, because they're not even really. Maybe they have a gun in there, a laser gun, but all the the background is just a fucking LED screen and CGI creatures. And there was a Netflix movie that made fun of all that during the COVID era. I forgot what Judd Apatow movie or whatever. But,
The Bubble.
Yeah, but it wasn't like, it was amusing, but the message was like, I don't know what the message quite was, but I appreciated it, but it was like, even the actors were just like fucking, like, even in that movie, like the characters were like, can we just fucking finish this fucking thing? They're like they're rock climbing on a green screen, everything's green, like have no frame of reference. I was watching one of the last Thor movies, and everything is CGI, and they have that stupid particle effect flying over everything.
Love and Thunder?
Yeah, and they were just like the comedy worked because you could tell they just didn't give a shit, and then the drama was like, it didn't even look like they were looking at another person.
Nope.
They were fucking dead faced, trying to like conjure up an emotion. It didn't work. It was like they just wanted to get the fuck home. You could see in Chris Hemsworth's face,
There's vacancy.
He was dreading like the fucking PR tour and the junkets. You can see, you know what the people are thinking.
Watching this summer, I got to see episode 1, which we've talked about as like the weirdest independent movie that was made for over $100 million.
Right.
And because it's the first of those films that's shot on a green screen, there's this dead vacancy because there's nothing. Watto, great actor, but Watto isn't on set, so there's nothing for them to react to, and it becomes very hollow.
But that informs a generation of fans too. Like, because we grew up on movies where there was the guy in the rubber suit, the Octoman, or the Night Beast was a guy in a suit made in Baltimore, in a chilly woods, in Maryland. And then you have kids who grew up with Underworld movies and Resident Evil, where there was CGI,
werewolves, and
I Am Legend, where there was just like, okay, they ditched the awesome makeup effects for just like these CGI guys who could have just been real guys. Like, what? But that's somebody's favorite movie. That's some kid's favorite movie, and they saw Underworld 3 or 4, and they were like, this is the movie that makes me want to make movies.
And they'll be on the show in 2060 telling me that.
But then they'll be like, like they go onto that virtual LED stage and like, this is fucking amazing. This is the best, For Screamwalkers, it was like, no, I have a house. We can kill people here. We can fucking put blood all over the walls. We can do this and that. We can, replace a window. The killer's going to come around this corner and shit. So, because that's the stuff that I was watching.
All of it are tools, and it's only as good as it's like the guy pulling the trigger or the artist with the paintbrush. It's the person holding it.
And it's also your introduction to the coolest thing you ever saw, and you're just trying to create that, and then you the more content and art you consume informs your creative fucking soul.
That's fine.
Yeah, Screamwalkers. Let me go back because I feel like there's a lot of context missing from Screamwalkers, if we may.
We'll be right back with more of The Offering with Jerry Horror.
Need more for your gore decor? HauntedProps.com has been a leading online Halloween retailer since 2006. And now, the company has opened the first and only year-round Halloween showroom on Long Island. The entire store is decorated and themed with immersive scenes. Yes, the whole thing is set up like a walk-through haunted attraction, and you're literally shopping in a haunted house. They've got gore props, haunted house props, costumes, masks, makeup, and did someone say animatronics? They've got those too. Designed to last and built to scare. Do you need legit-looking props for your film set or photo shoot? HauntedProps.com offers consumer-grade and professional-grade props. They've got something scary for any budget. Here's an idea. You need a location for your event? Haunted Props is a fantastic spot for flea markets, music festivals, carnivals, a haunted house, obviously, and any outdoor event you can dream of. Do yourself a favor. Go to the store in Manorville, Long Island, or order off the website, HauntedProps.com, where you can buy what scares you. Listeners and fans of The Offering can get their hands on their very own The Offering with Jerry Horror merch, now only at TeePublic. Find your own fresh The Offering with Jerry Horror high-quality merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, long sleeves, stickers, and mugs. Just like the show, we've got gear that's mostly horror, always genre. The Offering with Jerry Horror TeePublic store has everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Folks, head on over to teepublic.com right now and pick up your very own Offering tee today. You're listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. Got a question or a story you want to share with me? It might be featured in a future episode. Email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at jerryhorror. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there at jerryhorror. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcast, and you might find your review in an upcoming episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Offering. Now back to the show.
All right.
Can I just say really quick before we get to that?
Do.
Just really quick. The reason I like VHS and the reason I like Screamwalkers, especially the beginning, is because there's something that feels very unsafe.
Right.
Because everything looks alike, because everything's so sanitized and so samey. Is that a real word? Samey? Everything? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I use samey.
Same Raimi? Everything's so samey now. That first scene in the film,
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Is this a snuff film?
You're not ready for it.
Yeah,
right.
but okay, give me the genesis of this project.
That's funny because you said that. We just had a screening last night at the Long Island International Film Expo in Long Island.
Prestigious.
And it's a great fucking place, and also they treated us so well, gave us a great Friday night screening. But there was another filmmaker up there who made a brilliant movie, and they came up to me and they said, when that movie started, it looked really weird, and I was like, wow, this is cool. You're starting with this kind of like VHS filter or something, and then they watched more of it, and they were like, whoa, no, this isn't just a scene. This wasn't like a camcorder footage practical in the movie or something like that. The movie stayed that way, and they never saw anything like that, you know? So I was like, shit, that's fucking awesome. So to go back to how it started, we're friends with a guy named Will Pintarich, who makes these brilliant, he calls them ARG, alternate reality games. Mm-hmm. I call them theatrical horror experiences or haunted houses or whatever. I think all these names are applicable for what Will Pintarich does. But he created, one of his shows had this theme of alternate reality characters that kind of like seeped in from a different dimension.
A multiverse.
A multiverse. Yeah. It's really easy to figure out now because we have the multiverse, but like, I think it was 2020 and it was just like, so he didn't want to use the Scream guy, the Ghostface, or he didn't want to use Jason Voorhees. So he came up with, the
Bizarro knockoff.
Yeah. A knockoff thing. Yeah. So he created all these alternate characters of these things. And I love like knockoff toys and knockoff movies. I love that stuff. It's just so funny to see people try to like, make a quick buck on something.
What's your iteration of Freddy,
Yeah,
and you
is
even
it Sharp Hand Joe? Is it,
You do that in the movie.
Yeah, we had to we had to make our own kind of like amalgam character, So he made this, one of the characters was this thing he called a Screamwalker. And it was supposed to be from like a movie from a different, multiverse called Screamwalkers, like Screamwalkers. So
that would have been the Mad Magazine parody.
So he was like, I would do like video content for his ARGs. He would, he had a place out east on Long Island, and we'd go out there and we'd film little promos, little social things for his shows and stuff, and commercials. And then I saw this mask he got made, and it was like, damn, that thing is fucking cool. I clearly know what it's supposed to be, but the way you made it a cat, it's like this feline thing. And I was just like, wow, what's the story behind that thing? Like, and then we were supposed to shoot like just a scene of that character, that copycat killer, we call it, chasing somebody, like the opening scene in the Screamwalkers. We were just going to shoot that scene where it was a slasher character, somewhat familiar looking, stalking a person and just as a little promo. But then the show ended and we didn't need to do that anymore, but that idea was like, we kept talking about that idea, and I always had this notion of you can make a movie that prominently features like a masked character.
Yes.
Because we came up with fucking Friday the 13th and Michael Myers and all this other stuff. And every other movie had a freaking masked slasher, Scream or whatever. So it became like, we can make a movie starring a masked character, and the movie will be the commercial for the mask will be the commercial for the movie. And then we were like, maybe we could even get it, it'd be awesome if these masks were in the store when the movie's out. Like somehow this will be a Halloween costume that you can go to Spirit and buy off the rack. Like, oh yeah, man, yeah. It was ridiculous to think that, but the movie wasn't ridiculous. The movie was like reasonably, like you can do it. So the idea was to shoot it on analog video just as like a time and budget saver, but also because of, our love for boarding house and shot on video movies from, the VHS and, home video era. We whipped up a script, and my friend Bob Heckman helped come up with the story with me. And then close friends came on to help produce, producer Pete and a few other people who generously contributed to like a crowdsource fundraiser. And we raised initially like $6,000, and we offered just simple perks like the movie on Blu-ray and this and that, And then we shot it in the fall of 2023. We shot in October, November, the bulk of it.
Sorry, COVID brain.
I know, I lose track of the shit. If it's not written down on my hand, I don't know what I'm talking about. But again, like it started out as like, oh, it's just like a whimsy thing. But then, like I said, when we got those actors and shit, and like it was like, damn, wait, this thing can be more than that. And those movies, those Scream era new horror things from the mid 90s up until the 2000s, they were exploitation, but they were kind of approachable, teen friendly things. You know, there wasn't a lot of nudity. There, you know, it was rare if somebody took their top off, and Scream even made fun of all this. And it wasn't too gory. Like some of them were really bloody, but you didn't see graphic violence and stuff, because these were meant to play in multiplexes and stuff. You know, these were meant to be.
They're popcorn movies.
Yeah, like you know, all the 12-year-olds have sleepovers and like, we're gonna watch Scream too. You know,
and that's what Blumhouse does.
Right, and the parents are like, fine, you know, just this once, blah blah blah.
That's the discussion we have every week: is horror back? And it's like, yes, it's financially viable. It will never go away.
It's never going away. It's just it's gonna dip. It's gonna ebb and flow. It's gonna dip and rise again. So that was the mission with Screamwalkers, and we were just like, we only have this amount of money, which wound up being probably around 10 or 12 grand with, you know, all in with out of pockets and stuff. We did all the special effects ourselves. On a great day, we had a few people helping out behind the scenes, but the camera was just a regular camcorder from 1994. So we didn't have to like change lenses and do all the cinema crap, because that's like my day job, and I'll go do a commercial or like a corporate film, or, you know, a talking head interview where you have like you have a gaffer and a sound operator, and you have a second assistant camera guy, person who can change lenses and get the light meter exactly right. You know, fuck that. That's boring. Let's just get our hands dirty, make a gnarly looking movie, make it fun with great acting, which we had. And it played twice so far at screenings, and it goes over great, man. Like, people really understand it, which is a shock. I think it's weird because there probably is an age gap or a generation gap. Like that person who I was talking to yesterday, they must have been 24-ish, early 20s, mid 20s, and they understood it. They got it. But then, you know, some of the people who came up with making those shot on video movies, you know, the aging Xers like me or something, you know, they were like, why the fuck would you make a movie shot on video? Why would you go back to that? You could buy a red camera for $5,000. What are you thinking, you know? Yeah. And I completely understand both sides of that. Yes. Why are we doing it? I don't know, because it's easy and cheap and it looks cool. But then the 23-year-old, like, I get it. They're like, I understand, you know? And those are like the artists on Instagram or TikTok doing glitch stuff and feedback loops and with analog tapes and stuff, and they're you know, hacking those old freaking control boards and stuff, and that's fucking awesome. Like,
it's insane.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Like, you know, I'm gonna be 50 next year, but the movie kind of the people who are like just coming up as movie makers, like, they understand it more than like the people who are like 60 or 55 who inspired me. Yeah, like J.R. Bookwalter or freaking, you know, Don Dohler, or, you know, those people. So
it's the thing from Boogie Nights where you have, you know, Burt Reynolds and he's the director. And what ends up happening is, you know, he goes from shooting things on film, we're just going to shoot it on VHS, and that TLC really isn't put in anymore.
No, there's a funny scene in Boogie Nights where Jack
Horner.
It's just like, he's doing his. I mean, in the movie, he's a big fan of, you know, shot on film porn, and then like you said, the video age comes in, and then just the inspiration, and like Burt Reynolds is so good in that, because you can see like he's like an artist with the film.
He's dead behind the eyes.
He's like, this is the one. This is art. And then he's doing a fucking scene on video, and he's just like, we're making film history on videotape, and there's just no love there at all. It's like, that's probably like that applies to so many generations when the technology changes, because shot on video movies and all this analog thing, it kind of started around where Boarding House started, with Boarding House and Sledgehammer and Blood Cult and all these things that started to, you know, these producers started making things so they can go to video stores and bypass drive-ins and things like that, because we don't need that anymore. We got a video store. Everybody's got a VCR now. It's 1985.
And every generation romanticizes and fetishizes.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it's like the guys who grew up with John Ford, like, oh my God, it's John Ford.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and how dare you do something different? You know, yeah.
whereas, you know, I see Deadly Prey and I'm like, wonder if I could do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, exactly
know?
right. Yeah. It's like you said. It's like I couldn't do freaking The Searchers. Like
No.
the fuck, but I can do freaking Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. So it's funny how that kind of like there's like a bump every 30 years. Like there's like it's one of those heartbeats. Like boop, boop. It's a blip every 20 or 30 years when a new technology comes around. And it was fun to watch from this, you know, the 70s, like when we like our first movies we watched were older movies from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And then you started seeing those shot on video movies. Like you said, it's like, what am I watching? Is this like live video? Is this like, this looks like the news or a soap opera, when you can see it's shot on like, you know, regular videotape. And then that immediacy, like, you know, you're watching a live thing, but it's not. So you're really kind of like uncomfortable immediately because it's not The Searchers and it's not Close Encounters.
Yeah, and the influences come from, again, going back to the word of fetishes. I see I can't say it, fettuccine. The word coming
Linguine,
back,
fettuccine.
pesto, you throw some. But the reality of it is that horror has a lot in common with pornography.
Yeah.
And you find, you know, it's like your first turn on, your first kink. People say that when you're right around, you know, prepubescent era, that you might see a girl and she's got red hair and she's got a big rack. And now for the rest of your life, see, your subconscious saw that.
That's your favorite thing.
You're searching for it, but you don't even know why you're searching for it. It's like, it goes back to that whole thing with pornography, like the first turn on. And I think what happens is the kinks are almost like the subgenres, whether it's slashers, whether it's body horror, and you're chasing that.
Yeah.
So what are you chasing?
I'm chasing fun.
Okay.
Fun. F-U-N, fun. All right. That was the number one goal of Screamwalkers was
The audacity.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, nobody's in charge here. Like I was there to kind of guide traffic, but it was like, let's just fuck it all. Like
let's make a movie.
We're going to give some people their Blu-rays and that's it. And, you know, we want to make them happy because they give us money to make the movie, or they're part of the family now. So we want to make them happy, but let's throw away all that pressure you have where, you know, you're on a short film or, you know, NYU student film, or there's money at stake. And again, me coming from like the commercial world where it's, you know, I have to deal with clients and agencies and everybody's, you know, putting on their kind of like, you know, everybody has to play a part. The agencies and clients on these, you know, documentaries and commercials, they're acting too, you know.
Of course.
They're justifying their job and they're there. Ditch all that shit out the window. Get rid of that stuff. There is no pressure here. This is just a fully creative, experimental thing we're doing. There's guidelines, you know, there's vibes we got to hit. There's this and that. But we got to make it fun. If we're having fun, they're going to have fun. And I learned that with doing projects like The Ghouligans a long time ago, and The Slack Pack, which you can find on YouTube and Vimeo. Yeah, it was just some friends and I, as producers, just making shit that we thought was funny with no supervision. No, we didn't ask anybody to do anything. We just did it, sometimes, you know, at our own peril.
There's a weird manic energy that comes from the let's make a movie. And I really, when I try to quantify it, I tell people, do you remember the Muppets? Do you remember the Muppet Show?
Yeah.
And the Muppet Show specifically, they were trying to put on a show.
Right.
And then even with the Muppet movie, they're trying to make, it's like, hey, Kermit, I can be the star, you know? And it becomes this thing like, once as a filmmaker or an actor or a producer, once you get a taste of that manic, let's make something. It's intangible. You know, I'm getting pumped up just thinking about it.
It's adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's adrenaline. And if you have that creative impulse, hookers and coke might get you there.
Of course.
You know, if you're not a creative person, or Vegas, fucking high rolling in Vegas, or, you know, skydiving and base jumping and whatever the fuck that stuff is, that's their adrenaline. That's their freaking, that's what gets them hard. This is what gets us hard.
Yeah.
Let's take the money we would go spend in Vegas and make something and put it out and see if anybody likes it. Because I love to entertain. I'm happy when people are laughing around me and having a good time, especially if I'm a source of some of that. Like that is my fucking high. That's my heroin.
Yeah, when I was coming here, there's traffic and I'm sitting on the Long Island Expressway and people are all going into this casino. And I'm like, get out of my way. And the reason I'm saying get out of my way is so I can get here and talk to you about movies,
Right,
because that's what I get off
Isn't
on.
it cool? Everybody's got their own weird source of joy.
Yeah.
Or like what replaces joy and just satisfies you. It's this thing that you have to do, and you can't really do it alone. You need people to come on board, and you can't be a tyrant. You can't be, especially when there's no money, you can't be a dick about it. You got to be like, come experience joy with us and create, and you can call it your own. You can call your performance, and we're going to help each other make our dreams come true, you know? That's my base jumping, and that's, you know, there's nothing cooler than that. And now the movie's out on video, on DVD and Blu-ray, and you can go to the Indiegogo.com, search Screamwalkers, and order a copy. Yeah, so that is the ultimate freaking goal in my life. You know, it's to stay healthy and, you know, love my friends and family and make that shit and try to enlighten people in some way. But what's weird about Screamwalkers is that we made the movie and it came out fantastic and people really seem to enjoy it. It's about the original plan that we had, where 2021 Will had the mask, and we were like, all right, we make the movie and then the mask will come out somehow, blah blah blah. You know, we're gonna call the people who have the Scream mask and we're gonna make them put out the mask. You know, it's the most arrogant thing.
When I heard about that, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, it was the most arrogant thing to think. So
you got to do that.
So we made the movie, and then like, all right, we did half the job. Now we still have the second half of the job. We got this cool mask, and it's like, remember, the mask was supposed to help the movie, and vice versa. So Will was, as tenacious as Will Pentarich is, he brilliantly got an artist named Clive Barzilla to create the version of the copycat killer mask that's in Screamwalkers.
Okay.
Because Clive Barzilla is an artist for a company called Fun World, which is actually a Long Island company, a family-run novelty costume company. And any Scream fans out there would know that Fun World created the mask known as
Father Death.
Yeah, Father Death, the Fantastic Faces line from the early 90s that Scream wound up using as their ghost face.
Yep.
Will, constantly kind of talking to people at Fun World, got in touch with a fella named R.J. Torbert.
Okay.
And R.J. Torbert is Ghostface's dad. There's
wow.
There's no other way to say it. And I don't, R.J., I'm sorry if I'm not on script here, but he's such a wonderful dude. R.J. is he's like the brand enforcer at Fun World. So he's the guy. If Ghostface is like the miner on set, he's the guardian.
I like that.
So RJ was on set from Scream 1 all the way to now, and he's overseeing all the use of the Ghostface mask.
As he should.
Yeah, and it's also like it doesn't just appear in like scary movies or screams. It appears on TV shows, and sometimes it makes a cameo in a Halloween scene in a entirely different movie. So he's got to go out there and be like, all right, we're using this the right way, blah, blah, blah. So Will got in touch with R.J. Torbert at Fun World. We were afraid, like, you know, we were like, yeah, they're going to do it. They're going to release this mask. But then it was like also, or they're going to sue us and they're going to tell us we can't release the movie. You know, so we were kind of like, in an indirect way, we were like seeking approval from them about the image that we weren't sure if we can use or not. You know, the fairly similar image that Will instructed Clive Barzilla to kind of create as close as possible to a familiar Scream mask, but not enough to kind of hopefully not get us in trouble. And RJ Torbert was like, you know, we were waiting for his word back, and we were just like, oh, what's he gonna say? What the hell is it? Yeah. And he replies, he's like, we're actually looking for a mask just like this. And we were like, oh, what is he like? We were like, is this a test? Is this a trap, you know? And then, no, he was just like, yeah, come on into the office and bring me the mask that you guys made. And I went in there and I met with RJ, and he broke out these amazing cookies that were like $100. So we shared these amazing cookies that he had. And there's also like there's a weapon in the movie, like a Freddy-ish glove called a claw blade, which is a cat claw made of like steel, very sharp. And he wanted that too, and he was like, this could be part of the family of Fun World masks. And Will and I were just like, what the fuck, is this really happening? And as of like 3 weeks ago, it's official that the Fun World is the official copyright owner of the Copycat Killer mask.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So everything we do now, we have to, you know, we got to get Fun World's approval for like social media posts and stuff.
It's funny because
but they're so cool over there.
It's the little movie that could, and now you're in you're in bed with like the largest distributive Halloween stuff in the. You know.
It's nuts, but still, the movie has such a long way to go. If you're going to be able to go into Spirit Halloween in 2025 in September and buy that mask or see it, you're going to need to see. You don't need to see Screamwalkers, but it'd be cool if you did.
You got to do sequels.
Well,
because
everybody keeps coming up with their own sequel fucking treatment, and they're all amazing. But I'm like, let's see if anybody wants to see the first one first. You know,
it's kind of like the thing where the companies used to be like, especially with Star Wars, they were like, this is a great way to sell action figures.
Yeah.
So it becomes like, you know, we talk about Ninja Turtles, the brand refresh that has to happen every 3 years. So it becomes one of these things where it's like, is the movie really just pushing the bottom line of a corporate entity to sell merchandise, really?
I mean, I was there at 7, 8 years old watching Masters of the Universe, and I was just watching a freaking 22-minute commercial for the toys that I love. You know?
That's
I don't
fine.
give a shit. Like,
you know, it was like the whole thing.
I didn't know.
The Transformers, the movie. We got to kill these guys. Why do we got to kill them? Because we got to get new toys on shelves.
But like that is the most cynical way to look at it, but it's a fact. That is what it is.
It's part of the business.
But if you're doing it at such a modest level and doing it out of like real interest and love that like we did, I think it's going to read differently. I don't know if it's going to be like a conflicty thing for people to walk into their Halloween store and see like, is that like that's like a Scream mask but a cat? I don't understand that.
Does it create brand confusion?
Or if are they going to look at Screamwalkers and be like, it's like Scream but they're cat killers? Like, what the fuck is this? It takes a leap of faith to kind of like be like, all right, I'm down with that. That's crazy. Let's do it. If that's the case, that's what I'm hoping for. And people aren't kind of like, you know, there's no confusion or, you know, conflicting kind of like, what is this? You know, it's just made for fun. Will Pentarich always says, it's like, it started as a joke. It started as us just like, it was like a bluff. It's like, all right, yeah, this mask is going to be in stores. We're going to make a movie. Yeah, right. And we did it. And it's fucking crazy the way it worked out. I just hope that everything kind of unrolls as I hope it does, where the movie finds an audience, it gets distribution, and it's out there. And even if people are like, oh, that's corny, that's a ripoff. But I feel like even if like you're one of those people who is like, that's ridiculous, that's corny, that's a ripoff, but I kind of still want to see it.
I sent the trailer to my sister, and she's like, I got to see this.
Yeah, because like I don't think like it's a novelty, and I'm a fan of novelty movies. I'm not going to call other movies novelties, but I like movies like WNUF Halloween Special. I like Late Night with the Devil. I love that.
Great.
Even movies that try something different, like In a Violent Nature, they tried something different. Skin of Marink is weird. Terrifier. Like they're trying something different, and audiences are really
responding to it.
They are, and we're in a time now where those kind of, and I don't want to call them novelties. I haven't found the word, but they're concept-y things. They're playing with concepts and they're doing things differently. And I think people they have an appetite for that because of movies like Red Notice and, you know, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F and shit. You know, it's like these are corporate fucking things.
I'm going to make a bold proclamation. And 2024 is the year, especially for the horror genre, where yes, there's the first Omen. Yes, there's, you know, Quiet Place Part 26.
And some of them are amazing.
And that's fine.
Right.
The first Omen,
they work.
Wonderfully shot. But the reality of it is we've seen more like Longlegs. It's tearing up the box office.
Right, exactly, yeah. But the marketing was amazing.
Maxine the week before is doing great.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my God, these are original intellectual properties and that's good to see because people are seeing original movies.
Look, anytime that's rewarded in a box office thing or like by the culture at large, it's just like, damn. It's like what you talk about sometimes. It's that collective conscious, or it's that
the monoculture.
The monoculture. It's like, did we really come together and watch like a scary movie like we used to?
Yeah.
Shit, we did. We all watched Longlegs, and then Monday people are going to go to work in 2 days and be like, did you see Longlegs? If people go to the office anymore, do they?
I don't even know.
But they're going to talk about it, and you know, it's like, fuck, did we just do that? Because they didn't go to work and say, hey, did you fucking see Red Notice last night? Oh that was awesome.
Here's my big question, though. This is my big question.
You see The Slugger's Wife? Oh my God, that was amazing.
I watched it right after The Legend of Curly's Gold. It's like, I gotta.
Do you know of The Legend of Curly's Gold?
And then we watched Milk Money with Melanie Griffith because I was told we would see boobs. Most importantly, Sean, what did you learn from making Screamwalkers?
I learned to kind of let go of pressure that you might if you're doing anything creative, your instinct is to like, all right, this has got to be the thing. This has got to be the one thing that this is going to be my reel or my example or my song that, you know, that blows up on TikTok and, you know, whatever.
Tarzan boy, Baltimore.
When you intentionally do that, you're sabotaging yourself. You're putting too much pressure on yourself and it's not authentic. I learned to just limit yourself and don't put bullshit pressure on yourself when you're doing something creative. It's going to kill it. It's going to make it suck. But if you're doing it because you love it, break the chains, minimize the shit, go minimal, and just rely on your instincts and your imagination, and it'll read. It'll be authentic. You could see that by watching Red Notice. Like
Of course. You know, Gal Gadot. I think she's CGI. I think she was created.
Yeah. I don't think those actors were ever like in a room together.
No,
I don't know,
probably not.
Yeah. And that's even after. Was that after COVID too?
It was during COVID.
Oh, it was.
It was just.
I mean, they don't even look like they're fucking like looking at people. They're just like, were their eyes open? I don't even know.
Who knows? Who's to say?
Yeah.
You know, that's the magic of movies.
Yeah, but no, I learned that like if I do something next, it's definitely going to be stripped down and fun and like that, because I mean that's how I fell in love making movies when I was 12 or 13. You know, with my friends in a video camera.
And what it really comes down to is the reason that I do this director series is to kind of pull the curtain back for the folks who listen to this show, whether they're 50 or whether they're 15. I'm always encouraging people, if you're not happy with the status quo of film in this country, worldwide, whatever, go make your own movie.
Yeah.
Lloyd Kaufman would tell you the same thing. James Gunn would tell you the same thing. Go out, make a movie.
Yeah.
Now, it's very important, especially for our audience, to know that. So right now, kid says, man, Mr. King, I really loved Screamwalkers. It's the best thing I ever seen. What should I
How
go?
old is this kid? Is this kid Norm Macdonald or something?
He is. And he says, Mr. King, how do I, what, if I was making
Is
my
this some
own.
Artful Dodger on the street, like stealing newspapers and selling them?
He's got
Is it a newsie you're talking
He's
about?
a little kid from Peaky Blinders.
Extra, read all about it.
And he says, Mr. King, I want to make a movie. What would you tell this 1920s ragamuffin? Polio got my sister.
Take all of your paper out money and put it towards. Fuck man, I can't give advice to somebody who's starting now. I mean, it's a fucking totally different. I guess the fundamentals would be the same. Like
Learn as much as you can.
well, I mean, you can say the standard thing like don't ask for permission from anybody, just go do your thing.
Yeah.
But you have like a 4K phone in your pocket that you can just do that. It's an amazing time. I don't know if it's a great time for creativity, but it's a great time for creators.
Yes.
And I think there's a huge distinction between the two. When you can be Insta famous or TikTok famous in a week, you can hack to it and then get, you have $100 million deal. But what does that lead to?
Nothing. It's not even the 15 minutes anymore.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
it's 28 seconds of fame.
So like cool, but I think that just like diminishes everything that we know in life and society. And
diminishes people. It diminishes
I mean,
people.
it's just it's brain dead, and we're just like we're racing towards the end of times.
Be
and
creative.
idiocracy.
Don't be afraid.
So yeah, sure, yeah. But if you want to do something creative, or if you want to be J.J. Abrams, or you want to if you want to make stupid monster movies, get a friend, make a monster mask. Nobody's stopping you. Go out and make it, even if it's you and your friends watching it on YouTube. Cool.
Yeah.
And then if you want to expand your audience beyond you and your friends, do that. It feels good. It's a lot of fun. You'll be remembered for something like that outside your friends and your family. So that's cool too. So, yeah, I mean, nothing's stopping you. So accept yourself. Why would you stop yourself? Go do it. Fuck it.
Listen, folks, I saw Screamwalkers. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's official. I really enjoyed the film. Here, we always push, one of our things that we've been trying to bring into legislation to the House is the 90-minute movie. And this movie clocks in well under 90 minutes. And you know what? I love it. I love it because it is what it is. It says what it's got to say. And it's like, all right, tips its hat. See you later. Where can folks, I mean, right now, I know, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not to put you on the spot, but everything's in flux right now because that's just the way independent cinema works. But what would you tell folks if they want to implore further?
You go to the socials, Screamwalkers Movie on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Screamwalkers Movie. And if you want to learn more about it and see the movie, you can go to Indiegogo and search Screamwalkers. Indiegogo.com/Screamwalkers is pretty easy, I think. And you can get stuff there. You can get merchandise, and but most importantly, you can get a Blu-ray or a DVD of the movie. Blu-ray rather. Yeah. If you want a DVD, you gotta like message me or something like that. But yeah, you can watch that until we get like, wider distribution. Hope we do that. But yeah, I mean, just look up Screamwalkers Movie. Like if you just, Google the fucking thing, it's fine. You'll see it. Yeah, we're all over the place. And keep a lookout for the Fun World catalog for 2020, the third quarter of 2025, and hopefully you'll see the synergy of the the character in a novelty form and the movie as a novelty too. So
last Halloween we talk about Spirit Halloween and we talk about Fun World and your dealings with them. Last year they made these clamshell cases.
Right.
And they did like Halloween 2.
VHS clamp.
They do VHS clamshells, and there was Halloween 2. When you opened it up inside, you got like an iron-on patch, you got some movie merch, maybe a temporary tattoo. There were a lot of people returning them. And the reason they were returning them was because they thought there was a VHS tape inside. And that just leads me to my final thought here is VHS will never die. Why is that, Mr. King? Why will VHS never die?
I think it will when we die. I think it will because there'll be no more like gatekeepers of the VHS shit. Because right now, if you're a Gen Xer or whomever, or even like a millennial who grew up with, the Disney clamshells or, the VHS and then a lot of people really didn't get DVDs until streaming came out. They kept, the DVD was pretty brief. I mean, it's still a thing, but, it kind of just jumped from VHS tapes or VCRs to streaming, in the 2000s. I think that once there's nobody else out there to really champion those, like, these tapes, these kind of retro releases or whatever, yeah, they're just gonna stop, and it's gonna fade from the public consciousness, and then that's it. But I mean, fucking vinyl. You go to Walmart and Target, and vinyl's there. So I don't know maybe I don't know. It's weird. Vinyl should have been dead. I mean, that died. Like those generation is going away, right? I mean, yeah. But I don't know, man. It's so hard to tell. Maybe it will die. Maybe it won't. It's just it's cool. I think the more streaming happens and the more kind of like clicky shit and swipey shit that we get, it's nice to hold the thing that has weight, and it's a mechanism that you can put into another machine and play something, There's a magic to that can't be replaced with like, swiping and scrolling through endless thumbnails because the choice is made. You have one tape. There's one movie. There's a
commitment.
There's one album on the record. There's one song on the single. And that's fucking, yeah. I don't know who digs that or not. I love that, but I also love the option of like scrolling through Tubi for, and finding like, oh my God, I always wanted to see that. That's out of print.
It's a different experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to continue releasing things on physical media. Like we did Boarding House, Frank and I want to continue doing that. I want Screamwalkers out there it's coming out on videotape. It's a VHS tape too, and I want the Blu-rays available for everyone. But I also want it on Tubi and freaking Amazon Prime, and it's got to be everywhere. I think it all can exist in the same thing. It all has to exist in the same thing.
I think it's important to live in the present. I think a lot of times, even like when you have like even David Letterman, Jesus, I'm aging myself, stupid Petrix, but you have a lot of people with an interview like this and they say, well, what's your next film? And you're like, oh, Mr.
What's your next film, Mr. King?
Mr. King, are you making Black Panther 3? And I don't want to know what's next because I think Screamwalkers is it's so exciting and it's captivated my imagination.
Cool.
And hopefully, our listeners get to see it.
Yeah.
And that's important. So I'm not going to ask you what's next. I'm going to ask you what's most important right now with the film.
Everybody's got to see it. Everybody in the world's got to see Screamwalkers. And
8 out of 10 on
an offering recommendation, I guess. Yeah, so I have to get it out there so everybody can see it, and let the world freaking accept it or not, man. That's it. I would love to make more of them, but as of July of 2024 right now, I don't know who the hell would want to see that. Everybody who worked on it is like chomping at the
too
bit
early.
to do
it's
a
too
sequel.
early.
And I'm like, whoa. But I want to do more weird shit, more kind of novelty things, because they're just fun and they're low stakes. And
It's couture media.
yeah, and I was never able to get a budget for. I wrote scripts that would be $1 million, and I have concepts in my brain that would cost $300 million. But maybe the 23-year-old me would be like, yeah, that's gonna happen next year. But fucking 48-year-old me is like, you're a fucking idiot, 23-year-old you. But you can make a home video movie tomorrow.
We've talked about it.
Fuck it.
No one's coming to save you.
No
one's going to help you make your movie.
Mark Duplass,
MGM isn't coming.
The cavalry is you.
Yep.
The cavalry doesn't come. You are the cavalry.
You got to make it happen.
Yeah,
And you
gotta
made it
manifest the shit.
happen.
Well, but that's just because Will and I were just like tenacious and knocked on doors. We didn't get intimidated by anything because we made it so low stakes that there was no intimidation. It wasn't like daunting to be like talk yourself out of it shit. Yeah, it's just keep it simple, make it fun, and the goal is to just get it out there so everybody can see it. And then you could be a Screamwalker next Halloween in 2025. But you can be a Screamwalker.
You too. But Mr. King, no. The reality is very stark, and you made a movie, and as producer Pete always says, every movie that gets made is a miracle.
Damn right.
And it's absolutely true. So you made the miracle. You're living the dream.
Well, the cast and crew, I mean, our cast was amazing, but one of the leads, Glenn McBride Jr., he plays Detective Joe Penny in the movie.
He keeps the movie really grounded, too.
He's great, but he's always like, you made the movie with the black guy in a horror movie that lasts through the whole, like lives to the end.
And he has that, yeah.
And he's like, you made my dreams come true. Every time he says that, I'm like,
that's dope.
Man, it make me cry.
That's dope.
But he made his dream come true too. Like he took the chance, and he did the thing, and it's his performance, just like everybody else in the movie. I wish I could name them all, but you'll get to know them. They'll be they're beautiful people, and the cast and crew are great, and they're going to become famous. And
anybody you want to shout out real quick? Besides Dino.
No, Dino's just it. No, everybody in the
just
cast.
Dino.
Elizabeth Davily, Jason Seidel, Rose Stark, Celia Sparrow, Andy Rowell, Sasha Graham. Like, there's too many in the cast. Like, Glenn. It's like they were so amazing. And producers Pete, Kelly, Michael, Will Pitarch.
Don't forget about beautiful Bobby Heckman.
I mean, and everybody else who damn friggin' lifted a finger. I mean, it's a little miracle. It's a minor miracle, and everybody was just so damn cool. Everybody had a great time, and they're proud of it, which is weird. A lot of people just work on something, and then they're just like, all right, thanks, and it's a job, and they go to the next job, but they want to see this thing where it goes. So,
and that's gratitude.
Yeah.
And I want to express some gratitude. Mr. King, Sean Q. King, thank you for coming on the offering.
Well, shit. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Pete.
Well, I just want to say to all of our listeners right now, shout out to everybody at the Maining Drive-In. They're at VHS Fest, sweating it out in this terrible weather. I would love to be there with you guys, our peers, our friends, some of the people that follow us there. Want to thank you. Hey, don't forget while you're there, make sure you're reapplying deodorant and SPF, because Lord, it is hot. We've got other guys from podcasters, other girls. We've got everybody out there, and I just want to shout them out, show them some love. And in conclusion, VHS will never die.
Or will it?
Well, I mean, come on, let's not. Come on, Sean. It's we got a miracle movie, we got a miracle VHS Fest. You can listen to the offering on YouTube. I mean, look, there's a little cartoon there. You don't get to see my pretty face, but if you want to see my pretty face, you can come to my Instagram. I'm at Jerry Horror just about every goddamn. You can go follow us on Twitter, now known as X, at The Offering WJH. We couldn't fit it all. I'm just too big. I'm too girthy to fit on there. It is what it is. We got all kinds of stuff, but I'm always at Jerry Horror. You want to get in touch with us? Look, hey, leave us a review on iTunes. hey, maybe you go over there, bro. You call Donnie and you say, hey, could you hook it up and go leave a review, something positive. 5 stars only. If you're not going to leave 5 stars, don't even write a review, because at this point we got to rig it in our favor as much as we possibly can. Please just come support us. Tell your friends about the show. It's a great show. Always happy to have on a director like Sean Q. King be able to talk about how to make movies, because if there's one thing that you take away from anything in this director series, go make a movie. Please, I implore you to, because you're going to learn really quickly that you're going to try to make Red Notice, but you're not. You're not going to be able to pull it off. And who can? I mean, even if you had $300 million, 3 gigantic stars, you could still pull off a snooze fest like that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jerry Horror. This has been The Offering, mostly horror, always genre. You've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. I'm very sorry. Produced by Pete Bune. If you have a question or a story you want to share with me, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com, or hit us up at Twitter @jerryhorror, or on Instagram @jerryhorror. You getting the picture? Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are provided for you and your family. I want you to enjoy. Just join us next time for another offering.
This has been a Sick Boy Wolfgang production. Thank you for listening.